Anyway, so since morning we've been talking about the interview about the conversion of polytechnics to technical universities. Well, it was part of the NDC manifesto. It was a promise from President John Dramani Mahama that he will ensure that polytechnics are upgraded to technical universities. Now, there are some who have said that it's probably not the right time to upgrade them, or could we use the money rather to expand or, in fact, equip the polytechnics instead of upgrading them to technical universities. Well, we are joined this morning by Samuel Ekujeto Ablakwa. He's the Deputy Minister of Education. It's good to have you here. Guess what brought you to the studio? Polytechnics and universities.
Yes.
For all the times we've been trying to get you here. It's good to have you here. Happy New Year, by the way.
Many happy returns. Good to see you. You're looking very great.
And also joining Sam is Dr. George Afeti. He's the chairman of the Technical Committee on the Convention of Polytechnics to Technical Universities.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here as well, Dr. Afeti. Let me first start with you, Dr. Afeti, since you're the technical man here. What is the problem with the polytechnics?
Right. Basically, what we have now is a higher education institution that is more or less concentrating on the humanities, business programs, instead of the original mandate of training highly skilled technical workforce to support economic growth. So there has been what we call a mission drift. Originally, the polytechnics were supposed to be training institutions for highly skilled people to drive economic growth, wealth creation, job creation. So it's about time that we took a second look at how to really ensure that the original mandate of the polytechnics is fulfilled.
But at what point did we lose focus with the polytechnics? When did they start introducing marketing programs? I mean, it's difficult to understand how anybody will go to the polytechnic to read marketing, At what point did we lose this focus?
Well, when you go back to the upgrading process of the polytechnics, you realize that in 1996 and 97, in fact, we had a ratio of 55% science and technology students to 45% in the humanities. But then in 2008, the ratio just inversed. 28% in science and technology, and the other part for the humanities. Now, the situation has improved slightly to about a third, 33% in science and technology, and about 67% in the humanities. Now, what happened, in fact, was that one, we had problems with getting the right caliber of students to enter science and technology disciplines because of the restriction to only senior high school graduates. Secondly, we had problems with if you like, the level or the perception of polytechnic education, and the fact that technical and vocational education has not been given that prominence that it deserves. So the economy was more or less business driven. So you had a lot of people going into that area, and of course it was a good opportunity for the institutions to generate some income, because the more students you have, the more fees they pay, and then you have some money to run the institutions. But that must change.
Right.
That must change.
All right. Now, Sam, that brings me to the next question for you. So, from what Dr. Afeti is saying, automatically, when we do this upgrade, we'll be scrapping off the humanity courses from the university. Is that what is going to happen with the upgrade?
Well, first of all, let me say good morning to our dear viewers, and Happy New Year to you and all our cherished viewers. And to situate the policy shift within the president's vision to transform this economy. This conversion is directly linked to the transformation agenda of the president, because if we are to form a strong manufacturing base, industrial base, and to add more value to our raw materials, and to be able to generate more jobs for our youth, then we have to change the way our educational system is operating. We have to begin to pay more attention on the skill side, the practical oriented side of things. The president has constantly talked about how there seems to be a mismatch between the jobs that are really required and the products that our educational institutions are churning out. So to address this mismatch and to be able to have a high level, middle level skill, practical oriented graduate, we need to take a second look at the institution that was originally set up to provide us with these products, which are the polytechnics. So this conversion is to ensure that we are able to now properly situate polytechnic education. The challenges that Dr. Petty has talked about can only be addressed by this conversion, because you have issues of mission drift. Majority of students, about 67%, now pursuing business, marketing programs, management programs. You have issues of esteem. Polytechnic education is not receiving that esteem, that prestige that should be accorded it. Only 2%, for example, of junior high school graduates choosing placement in senior high schools choose technical institutes. Only 2%. At that level, they see a certain unattractiveness about technical vocational education, and they see that graduates from our polytechnics struggle with progression. If they want to pursue master's programs, they struggle. If they even want to do top-up degree programs, they are not properly situated. When they get employment in the job sector, at what level do they enter? How should they be remunerated? All of those issues have been because as a country we have not properly situated technical education and polytechnic education. So this conversion is meant to address all of these matters, and that is why we are saying that it will not just be a mere change of name. There are 3 eligibility criteria that these polytechnics have to meet by September 2016. If we get to September 2016 and only one polytechnic is ready, only one will be converted. Okay. It will not be a wholesale conversion. These eligibility criteria which the Dr. Petty Committee came up with, which we have accepted, are institutional qualifications, staffing qualifications, and then collaboration with industry. You have to show as a polytechnic that you have very good standing MOUs with industry, and those MOUs are active, and that you have been able to introduce industry, the world of work, into your polytechnics, into your lecture theaters, and that there is also a strong partnership. Students can offer, can go into industry and offer attachments, and that the industry experts are also having room within the technical universities to lecture and to play a role, and so that there will be that synergy between the polytechnics and industry. It is also important to emphasize that there is also a financial implication, which I'm sure we'll be discussing. I've heard some people say that, it's just a change of name and really we'll be back to square one. Not at all. We are also ensuring that all of these things will be backed by law. So that is what will answer your question directly. We are currently working on a technical universities bill. Okay. It was part of the documents that were subjected for validation at last week's stakeholder forum. So we validated the technical committee's report, and we also went into detailed analysis of the draft technical universities bill. We are committing ourselves to ensure that we have learnt our lessons from how the upgrade of our technical institutes to polytechnics by PNDC Law 321 in 1992, how that led to a scenario where all the polytechnics, majority of their students, are now pursuing marketing business programs. We have learned our lessons there, and we are going to make sure that in this law there is very little room for our new technical universities to drift and to shift away from the core mandate. So that is what really would guide all of us, the law. It would ensure that all these are polytechnics. Even in the few instances where they may be allowed to pursue humanity programs, it has to be practical oriented. The application of these humanity programs, the course content will have to be different from pursuing marketing at the traditional universities.
Right.
In the traditional universities, they are to generate knowledge, they are to pursue research. They can get away with not really applying the research. It is for the technical universities to now take that research and apply it. So there has to be the practical application of this research or the knowledge which is generated. So that's the distinction.
Okay.
And we need to emphasize that the technical universities will be different from the traditional universities.
Okay, we'll come to that. We'll come to that very soon. Dr. Feti,
yes.
I want to, pick your thoughts on the three things he talked about: qualification, staffing, and collaboration with industry. Let's start with qualifications. Exactly, what would you be looking out for in terms of qualifications?
Okay. As part of the roadmap that we have developed, it's important that we evaluate the current standing of the polytechnics, individual polytechnics, in terms of the efficiency of their management and governance systems. If you have a new university institution, then management systems must be right, leadership must be right. We look at that. We look at the availability and quality of the teaching and learning facilities. It's extremely important. And then we'll be looking at the academic staff profiles as well. Now, if you look at just the institution itself, before you can become a technical university, what we are suggesting is that you must demonstrate that you have the capacity to run at least 4 Bachelor of Technology degree programs in science and technology disciplines. You must demonstrate that. In other words, you must have staff and equipment to do that. And then secondly, you must satisfy all the requirements of the National Accreditation Board, because they are going to be universities in their own right. They're not going to be inferior or baby universities. So they will follow the same rigor and the same regulations and procedures as universities do. And then, if you want a program to be accredited, then we have recommended that the head of that program, the head of the department, must be at least a senior lecturer with industrial experience. That's critical. And then you must have 3 additional lecturers, one of whom must also have industrial experience. So we are emphasizing this strong linkage and partnership with industry. The third, regarding the collaboration with industry, it's not just mere collaboration. Yes, we have people coming in for attachment. No, we are looking at how we can combine academic instruction with work-based learning, which means in effect that industry must be involved in the teaching as well. We have staff or workers, experts from industry coming to teach at the converted polytechnics. We also have situations where the internships are jointly organized between the institution and the industry. So we'll demand that these training agreements are in place.
Okay. Now, Sam, he mentioned a very important point about, the facilities available in these universities. When you go to a lot of our polytechnics, you go to, for instance, the engineering department, you realize that they're very much ill-equipped. And so you have students who only go in for, the theory. They are unable to do practical work. How do you expect the polytechnics to upgrade themselves to meet these requirements Dr. Apeti has just outlined?
Let me begin by saying that, yes, your observation is quite fair in part. However, over the years, government has been investing tremendously in polytechnic education. If you go to the science labs and workshops now of some of our polytechnics, you see the most modern equipment. So some of them really have been upgraded, and government has a program. Last year we finalized our retooling of the labs and workshops at Takoradi Poly and Kumasi Poly. For 2015 we hope to do Ho and Koforidua. We have a partnership with an American based company called Amatro, and we spend quite a good sum in retooling. So there are some investments that we are making in that sector. However, the technical committee has recommended that we will need to scale up that contribution. So far, we spend about 150 million Ghana cedis every year. So in terms of breaking down per student, it's about 2,836 Ghana cedis per student that government of Ghana spends on a polytechnic student. The committee is recommending that we need to triple that if we have to meet the standards. Because we remember that this technical university model we are choosing for ourselves is tailored after the German model.
And you were there recently?
Yes, which is considered the best model in the world. And we are aiming, to meet those standards. And they have done the analysis. Germany spends about 18,000 Ghana cedis, is equivalent, per student. And they are saying that for a start, they are recommending that we should spend some 50% of that. Okay. So our roughly 3,000 Ghana cedis per student should be tripled times 3. It should get to 9,000 Ghana cedis by September 2016 when we start. So that will have an implication on the infrastructure, the status of our labs, of our workshops, and all of that. But we are also quick to add that if you look at the German model and other successful models like in Japan, India, South Africa, you notice that there's a strong industry collaboration, strong industry contribution, so that it is not entirely the governments of these countries that foot the entire bill. You see that there's enormous support coming in from industry. So we are seeking to deepen our partnership with industry. Already they've been part of the process. AGI was represented on the technical committee at the validation consultative forum. They were present. They made very valuable contributions. They appear very upbeat so far. We will engage them in the coming days to see how we can concretize this interest, what kind of support they want, incentives that they want government to give them so that they can support us, because we want this to be sustainable, so that you don't have a fluctuation where in some years the support goes up per student, cost goes up, and then in other years it comes down. So that's the strategy we have moving forward in terms of scaling up support to these technical universities, so that we can be able to put in the right investment. Because you see, ideally speaking, the technical university student, we must be spending more on that student than the student at the traditional universities. That is what happens in Germany, but the situation in Ghana today is the reverse. We are spending about six times what we are spending on the polytechnic students. So is it any wonder really that we have not really had the cutting edge solutions and the innovations and all of that should come from our polytechnics? So we want to reverse this trend moving forward.
Okay, do we know the cost of the conversion yet?
Yes, there's a proposal. It's quite a scary
but just give the background to the proposal. We are estimating that we'll have about 60,000 polytechnic students, or if you like, technical university students in the near future. Okay. And if we take the rough estimate of 9,000 Ghana cedis per student, then we're looking at about 540 million Ghana cedis a year. Wow. But don't be scared. It's just a rough estimate on the assumption that all the 10 polytechnics will become immediately technical universities, which is not going to be the case. So straight away we see that if we have just one technical university or polytechnic being converted into a technical university, then we're looking at 54 million Ghana cedis. But already the government is spending about 18 million Ghana cedis. That is the 3,000 that the government is spending per student. So that will make an additional 36 million Ghana cedis that government will have to find. And I tell you, this is a small price to pay for the skilled workforce that this country needs.
Do you have any idea how many skilled people we need in a year?
Well, we don't have a full idea. But I can tell you that our workforce is not internationally competitive. According to the latest Ghana Standards and Living Survey, only about 5% of the Ghanaian workforce, about 11 million people, hold tertiary level qualifications, and that is not good enough. The workforce is poorly educated, if you like. There are very many skilled people out there, but then they lack a little bit of the theory that will take them up to higher levels.
So you think the convention will inspire innovation, the kind of innovation we need in this country?
Certainly, and not only that, we are hoping that the technical universities will support local enterprise development. They will bring technology solutions to struggling companies. There are a lot of companies now who require just a little bit of technology in order to grow, but they don't have the people to do that. And please don't get this conversion process wrong. We are not saying that we are going to scrap all the lower level, middle level courses at the Polytechnics. No. Ghana will still need plumbers, but plumbers of a different kind. Plumbers that come to your house to fix a leaking water tap, they're not the same plumbers that will work on high-rise buildings. Plumbers that fix air conditioners, splits, and so on, they're not the same when they come to high-rise central air conditioning systems. So we need a different kind of skilled workers, and that is the whole purpose of what we are trying to do. And the fact that we have that higher level of skills training will give inspiration to those who are at the lower level, and they will see a future. They will see that technical and vocational education is no longer a dead end. That is one of the reasons why we have not developed our technical and vocational education programs.
Samba, how are the Polytechnics themselves feeling about this conversion?
Oh, you should speak with them. They are very excited about it. We have received tremendous support from. It's been quite overwhelming. The unions have all expressed their support. They just can't wait. They think that this is an idea whose time has come.
Another strike will not stall.
No. Actually, one of the union leaders joked with me that if we had started this long ago, the strikes would have come. So right. I hope that moving forward we wouldn't see more strikes. But they are very excited about it. The Conference of Rectors COP also expressed strong support. They have indicated their preparedness to move with us. We are also receiving a lot of support from the Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana Employers Association. Indeed, there seems to be some unanimity. Even those who have written what you may call some critical articles, like Professor Achuaye, my own former political science lecturer, he has not condemned the idea. In principle, he says he agrees with it. He just wants us to be careful about the system. We should not do a wholesale conversion, and that we should learn from the UK fiasco and all of that. And I have pointed out to him that the technical committee has done a great job. They have factored all of these things in, and that is why they have warned against a wholesale conversion. They have established a criteria. They are even talking about an independent expert panel that should be able to assess the Polytechnics, so that by September 2016 we really know on an objective basis who is ready, so that we will get things right. Yeah. So we are receiving a lot of
let me add that the independent panel will include people from the world of work.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not just academics who will go there and do that. We want to get industry involved in this evaluation process.
Thank you very much. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is Deputy Minister of Education, and Dr. Jordan Petty is the Chairman of the Technical Committee on the Conversion of Polytechnics to Technical Universities. Thank you very much for coming in this morning.